Welcome to day 3 of your introduction to proofs, proving that angles are congruent or equal to each other. Congruent is a fancy word that means equal, not exactly, but close enough. For now, we're just going to say it means equal. Technically, it means like they look exactly the same. Equal means that you've measured them with a number. So you could have two congruent angles. You know they're the exact same size. You just don't know how many degrees are in them. To say that they're equal, they both have to be like 44 degrees or the same amount of degrees. That's the slight difference between congruent and equal. Equal is associated with numbers. But regardless, this is what you've learned so far about congruent angles. You could have alternate interior, assuming that your lines are parallel. So that's why I had you guys copy down the definitions, the theorems, and the postulates yesterday. It says if these two lines are equal. Remember, on day 1, I showed you what alternate interior angles were with lines like this. These are still alternate interior angles. They're just not equal because these two lines aren't parallel. So now we're going to assume that all these pairs of lines right here are parallel. So if they're parallel, then alternate interiors are equal, alternate exteriors are equal, corresponding are equal. And when it comes to vertical, you only have two lines. Parallel doesn't matter. When two lines cross, the angles across from each other are equal. So we've got 4 ways to show that angles are equal. And we've got 2 ways we talked about to show that angles are supplementary, that they aren't equal, but they add up to exactly 180 degrees. And that's supplementary, means they add up to 180 degrees. Could be a linear pair when you have 2 lines that cross. The ones across from each other are equal, but the ones right next to each other add up to 180 degrees. Remember the whole protractor thing? There's 180 degrees in a protractor. This is a straight line. So from here to here is 180 degrees. You've just split it up into 2 parts that add up to 180. All right, and consecutive interior, don't get this confused with alternate interior. A lot of people get this confused with alternate interior because they both have the word interior in it. But consecutive means they're on the same side of the transversal. Like in this case, they're both on the left. These ones over here on the right are also consecutive interior. And they're not equal. This is an obtuse angle. This is an acute angle. They're not equal. You could tell just by looking at them that this one's big and that one's little. But they do add up to 180 degrees. So there's 2 ways to get supplementary, and there's 4 ways to get congruent. What we're going to do today is introduce basically a 5th way to show that things are congruent. And it's called the transitive property. So let me try and explain to you what the transitive property is. Technically, if you look up transitive property on Google or in a dictionary, it's going to tell you if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. All right, that's a fancy way with variables of saying if 2 things are equal to the same thing, then those 2 things are equal to each other. For instance, if 4 plus 3 is equal to 7 and 5 plus 2 is equal to 7, then 4 plus 3 is equal to 5 plus 2. Since they're both equal to 7, they must be equal to each other. 4 plus 3, that would be your A. 7 would be your B, not a D. A is equal to B, and C is equal to B. Therefore, A is equal to C. All right, they're 2 different things. A and C, 4 plus 3 and 5 plus 2 are both equal to the same thing, 7. We'll call that B. Therefore, they must be equal to each other. Why do we need that? We need that as a tool to prove that angles are equal to each other. So let me introduce a 4th line to our pretty picture here. Here's our pretty picture that we're used to dealing with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 angles. We'll say those two lines are parallel. So now we have alternate interior, alternate exterior, and corresponding angles are equal. Let's introduce a fourth line to this right here and say now that these two lines are parallel to each other. And we've got 8 more angles now. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. If I were to ask you to prove to me with an argument, describe to me and convince me beyond any doubt that angle 1 is congruent to angle 16, I am going to get a one-line argument from most of you that says they are alternate exterior angles. Well, they're alternate exterior angles. The lines are parallel. They're both acute on the outside here. They're outside our box. This is our house in the middle now. Those are all the interior angles. These would be your exterior angles. All right, so a lot of people are going to just say they're alternate exterior angles. Done. I proved it. Boom. But that would be wrong. Alternate exterior angles means opposite sides of the same transversal. Alternate. Opposite sides of same, keyword same, transversal. All right. Angle 1 is to the left of this transversal. Angle 16 is to the right. So we got left and right. We got that part correct. But of a totally different transversal. Therefore, we cannot say they're equal because of alternate exterior. We can't use corresponding. We can't use vertical. We can't use alternate interior. We can't use anything that I've taught you so far. So we're kind of stuck here. We're in a jam. But I didn't just teach you transitive property for no reason. Transitive property is what we're going to use here. So I shouldn't have erased that. That's what we're trying to prove. So I'm going to put a P there. That stands for prove. Prove that angle 1 is congruent to angle 16. And the way we're going to do that is transitive property. So remember, 4 plus 3 equals 7, 5 plus 2 equals 7, so they must equal each other. So think of the angle 1 as the 4 plus 3 and the angle 16 as the 5 plus 2. We need to find where is 7 on here. Where's another angle that these are both equal to? If we could find another angle that these are both equal to, then we could say they're equal to each other. And you have more than one choice. There's 2 choices down here that you could say they're both equal to, and there's 2 choices up here that you could say they're both equal to. So you really have 4 different choices for that imaginary 7, that part C, the other thing that they're both equal to. So look at these angles. They're both acute angles. So pick an acute angle out of one of these 4 right here. I heard somebody say 8. All right, I'll show you how to do this as if we're picking angle 8 as our part C in the transitive property. Can we say that angle 1 is equal to angle 8? Yes, we can. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 8 because of alternate exterior. Alternate exterior. All right, angle 16 and 8. Can we say those are equal to each other? Let me talk about alternate exterior before I move on here for a second. When you're dealing with angle 1 and angle 8, you can forget about angles 9 through 16. Now we're just back to our regular picture. 1 and 8 are alternate exterior. They're outside of our house. They're on opposite sides of the transversal. They're both acute. They look like they're equal. If they look like they're equal, they are in this picture. You just got to know why, and it's alternate exterior. Okay, so we're using angle 8. We got angle 1 is equal to 8. Now we need angle 16 is equal to 8. Well, it can get a little confusing when you got 16 angles there. So what is the line that connects these set of 4 and these set of 4. It's this line right here. This is your new transversal. So cover these up. And it's like, oh, that's our picture, it's just on its side. These are our 2 parallel lines. This is our transversal. So what do 8 and 16 look like? Well, they look like to me that they're both in the bottom lower right-hand corner of their set of 4, lower right-hand corner. That means they're in the same corner, they correspond, they're corresponding angles. So 8 and 16 are corresponding angles. So angle 16 is congruent to angle 8 because of corresponding. Now we can say 1 and 16 are both equal to the same thing, 8, therefore they must be equal to each other because of transitive. Nailed it. All right, that's it. That's how you do these. Now, I did 8 for you. 8 was an acute angle that I just randomly picked down here. You also have 5 as an acute angle. You could do the same thing with angle 5. You could say they're both equal to angle 5. You could move up here. 9 and 12 are both acute angles. So you could make the same argument. Why is 1 equal to 9? Why is 16 equal to 9? Therefore, they're equal to each other. So those are now 3 homework problems for you. I keep saying homework. Technically, it's classwork. They're 3 do problems for you. So when you get to the do section, you are not going to see these 3 problems listed. Problem number 1, use angle 5. Problem number 2, use angle 9. And problem number 3, use angle 12. So now you have 3 extra problems to do that, yes, I am testing you to see if you're watching my whole video. So add these to the do list and do the same thing I just did for angle 5, but use the correct reasons. All right. Did I do 5? No, I did 8. So like I said 1 to 8 was congruent because they're alternate exterior. That's not going to be the same reason why 1 is congruent to 5. So you got to pick the correct answer, pick the correct reason. Say why is 1 congruent to 5, why is 16 congruent to 5, and then say 1 is congruent to 16 because of transitive. So it's going to be 3 lines for each one of these 3 problems. So you should have 9 lines total. But separate them so the 3 go with question 1, another 3 with question 2, another 3 with question 3. And your third line is always going to be transitive property. So that's not going to change. Your first 2 reasons on the first 2 lines might be a little different each time. All right, some of you might get creative and come up with like 4 steps. Some of you might use angle 4 and get a little crazy, and you can do that. You're making life a little more difficult for yourself, but if you want to try and figure out a way to use angle 4, you can, but you don't have to. That's above and beyond. That's kind of advanced. That's like a bonus problem. But these 3 are mandatory. If you don't do those 3 in the do problems, I'm going to know you're not watching the video, and you're not going to get full credit for today's assignment.